Honourable Member for Banjul North. Wow.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I also wish to make an intervention or contribution to the motion presented by the Honourable Attorney General and Minister of Justice for the extension of the period of state of public emergency for a period of 90 days. I want to start by saying that we acknowledge the presence of the members of the cabinet, and what we have here are the key ministries. Of course, in the morning, many of them were here. We wish they had stayed with us to listen to all the issues raised, but nonetheless, the four that are here are key to in the efforts that are needed to cope COVID-19. You have the Attorney General, of course, is the Minister of Health, the Minister of Finance, Attorney General, and Minister of Trade. I also want to start by saying that the committee really did very well within a very short space of time. It was yesterday in the afternoon, early afternoon, that they committed themselves to work, and I understand that they were here very late, and we were able to present this report with the recommendations that we are considering during this session. Before I get into the report, I also want to acknowledge the efforts of the National Assembly members for having taken the task, assuming the responsibility to go back to their constituencies. Some had even started before being given support by both the National Assembly and the Ministry of Health to carry out sensitization. Of course, there are challenges as far as the support is concerned. With regards to the National Assembly, they provided what is needed to facilitate the movement of the honorable members back to their constituencies and within their constituencies going round. And for the Minister of Health, they provided also resources to facilitate movement as well as sanitary materials. And of course, challenges are being raised in terms of the materials that we have received. We were expecting complete sets, but we did not get that. But I want to also acknowledge the efforts being made by the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Health, in facilitating the support given to the National Assembly members to engage in constituency sensitization. The Minister, I can attest to this Assembly, is doing everything possible as far as the institution is concerned, but issues are highlighted here in terms of challenges. Much needs to be done. I need not go back to repeat some of the issues that were raised by honorable colleagues. But I just want to say that Gambia has so far reported 4 cases, one of which has passed away, leaving us with 3, and 2 among the 3 have recovered, leaving us with 1. So this is good news to some extent. This provides a window of opportunity for the Gambia to manage the situation. But COVID-19, as we have seen, is very deceptive. The Committee on Health presented a report in which they indicated that the international airport has all the measures in place as far as screening this COVID virus from entering the country. But unfortunately, all the cases pass through the international airport. So that means when they were passing, their condition was undetectable. So this is COVID-19. And COVID-19 is also like a sleeping volcano. On the surface, it might look very calm, but underneath, we wish that is not the case. We wish that is not the case, since we have had cases, and these cases had interacted with the communities. So it is like a powder keg. It can just come, a wave, boom. This is what has been happening elsewhere. So we need to support the health ministry. We need to support our health systems to ensure that what is supposed to be done, the quarantine is in progress, subjecting contacts to quarantine is in progress, subjecting contacts of contacts to quarantine is also in progress to some extent. To a large part, I can say. But we still need to do more, because that is where the challenge lies. It might come as a wave. So I am urging everybody here, both in the National Assembly and the Executive, and Gambia as well, that we don't wish for the worst, but we need to prepare for the worst. It might not turn out to be like that. It might be that the cases would end with these 4. But it can get serious. Because this is not raising, it's not raising alarms or creating alarm, but we have seen this happening elsewhere. This is how it started. It will come, you will feel that it's negligible, the numbers are negligible. And you don't do the necessary, you don't take necessary measures to curb them, and then it will just come, bam. It's happening to Senegal. They had imported cases that thought it was imported. Now they have communal transmission, which is dangerous. And that means you don't know who transmitted it to you. With the imported cases, you know that this is the source, like the index case and the other cases that followed. That this is the source. This is the source, this is where he or she went to, these are the ones he or she interacted with, so these are the contacts. But with communal transmission, that's serious. So let us brace ourselves, do everything that is possible to also, in coming up with measures, we also plan for the worst, so that we will never be caught unawares. We will be able to contain even if the worst comes. And there's a window of opportunity in the sense that for us, Gambia, we don't have enough hospitals. Our health system is weak. We have good doctors, I can admit, I can tell you, very good doctors in this country, but they are inadequate. The materials that they use, the equipment, they are insufficient, they are inadequate. So we need to prepare the hospital system, the curative system, get all the human and material resources that are needed to cope with cases, inflow of cases in our hospitals. But our best bet, and this is the emphasis, is prevention. That is where our strength lies. Since this is the situation so far, let us also invest our efforts, invest our resources in prevention. And sensitization is key. And I want to acknowledge the work being done by each and every member of the National Assembly, including nominated members who are also given some of the materials to engage in sensitization. As I said, they were not adequate. They are never adequate. Imagine seven drums, water tanks, some with taps, some the taps are not fixed, and we're expecting it comes with a package. You need a bucket. So these are challenges we will be taking up with the ministry because for purpose of accountability. I was very surprised that an honorable member would stand here to fault the coordination that was done by the committee in facilitating this work. And nobody could have done that. And we did not do this, the committee did not do this in isolation. We did this in consultation, close consultation and collaboration with the Office of the Clerk. It was the Director of Table Office who was working with the committee and our secretaries. And nobody could have done this coordination other than the Health Committee. Nobody, no person, even the Office of the Clerk could not have done that. And moreover, this was as a result of a recommendation made by the committee, which was tabled before the Assembly and adopted by plenary, that National Assembly members ought to be engaged. They have a key role to play in this. So in that engagement, that was what the committee was doing, to facilitate that engagement. So it was a real supply, but anyway, people are different. So all the others have appreciated, have acknowledged the work of the committee. So that's solace. As I said, prevention is the way out for Gambia. We need to strengthen our health systems, of course. And I've had interventions, they're very good, but they are somewhat preempting what the committee intends to do. What the Committee on Health intends to do is, we have been informed, this August Assembly had been informed that there is 500 million committed by the executive from the appropriation, from the budget, 2020 budget. The 500 million is coming, and it's not coming from anywhere other than the appropriation budget. And of course, we got assurance from the Honorable Minister of Finance. He too has expressed his readiness to support. We've been engaging him, and then he's making do of his promises. And then we've got the dollars that there's this 500 million. The committee intends to do, we agreed as a committee that we're going to ask the ministry to explain to the committee, through the committee, because this is the committee that they should be dealing with as an oversight. How much have they received from this? In the first place, what do they intend to do with this 500 million? In the first place, how much have they requested? How much have they received? How had it been utilized? And it's that information that we wanted to share with the honorable members. But the honorable members are coming up with suggestions that they want to do it right away. But I feel that it has to be in that fashion, so that we'll get a written report from the Minister of Health. We'll share it with the committee. If there's any need for the committee to converge around it. But there are issues of finance, because we also want to know, apart from this 500 million, what other sources of funding are the ministry earmarking? Are there any sources of funding other than the appropriation, the budget? And if so, what are they? How much have they received? How do they intend to utilize that? So all these things the committee has planned. It is because of these 2 days that the committee could not have done that, but this is what we've agreed that we'll be doing. And the committee also has agreed to continue its oversight, even if we suspend or recess, whatever, because we have to continue engaging. There are quarantine centers. We have had issues around them. So we need to engage to know the state of those quarantine centers, whether those people are getting the best, of course, respecting the confidentiality, the privacy of those people who are under quarantine. It's not our business to know who they are, but we are interested, the committee is interested to know what services are available to them, because you're keeping them mandatory quarantine. We are not expecting all the comfort that they get at their homes for them to get at the quarantine center, but at least basic things that can make them to stay there, and then, because we are in this, all of us are in this together. Those that are considered suspects, those that are victims, that are cases, those that are not, every person, as we have indicated in our report, every person in this country is a stakeholder. So how do we help every person in this country? In fact, that's the task for all of us, particularly National Assembly members. How do we ensure that every Gambian, every person, non-Gambian in this country, accepts and assumes the responsibility as a stakeholder? And that means you have an obligation to observe the precautions, the WHO recommendations, hand washing regularly, social or physical distancing. In fact, they even want to change the terminology. Social distancing, they said that's That's not humane. We are breaking, the human touch. So it's physical, the physical distancing. But these are all things that are coming up. So how do we ensure that we encourage people to adopt such practices? At the level of the country. So it's an opportunity for us. So, Honorable Speaker, that is what the committee intends to do, that we want to continue with our oversight. Of course, we have to also observe that we do not need to be converging. We have to observe all those things, that the members also should not be exposed to risks. As you know, the condition now requires more of confinement than moving about, but we will agree as to how to do it, where we will not compromise the health of any of those who are going to be engaged in this oversight. But we intend to continue doing our oversight. It's not time for us to sleep. On the report, they have done very well, as I indicated. I just want to say that some of the observations, the specific and general observations that we've made, can be transformed into recommendations. They are recommendations. Most of them are recommendations, so you need to transform them into recommendations. I want to say that at this stage, the incubation period, as we are told, is 14 days. We have got cases. Now we only have one case. Gambia has got only one case. We have not known yet who and who else is a case, because we have to realize this, that the last case, the fourth case, was at home, sick, and was not reported by his or her, I don't know the gender, but by his or her family members to the health authorities. It was a concerned person, whether a Gambian or non-Gambian, who reported to the health authorities that this person is suspected to be suffering from COVID-19. So we can have in our communities. We can have such situations in our communities. So that's the danger. So rather than the 90 days, rather than the 45 days, why can't we start with 2 weeks? And even before these 2 weeks, because the suggestion, we have been having interactions, and I can tell you, the Honorable Minister of Health, we don't praise people, but he has been on top of things, very responsive. The suggestion was, why don't Gambia give a 1 week grace period? 1 week. That after 1 week, we are going to enter into not a lockdown, but a state of public emergency. So we want everybody to get yourself prepared. The state would also get itself organized. And in fact, the select committee made a recommendation. It was from this assembly that the recommendation was picked up, that it is high time for the executive to dedicate a body, and it's going to be an interministerial body comprising the Minister of Health, because it is a health issue, disease. He is going to take the lead. Everybody should concede that to the Ministry of Health, the Minister. You have finance there. We need resources. We need resources to be committed to whatever campaign we're going to engage in. You need trade, because it's affecting businesses. You need basic education, because the people need to be sensitized. You need means of communication. You can go to, in fact, most of the things that we are talking about, they can be found in the report of the Health Select Committee. Honorable members, revisit that report. We wish the executive takes that up. Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Attorney General, Honorable Minister of Finance, we wish that you look at that report thoroughly. If you adopt, and in fact, I can also concede that the minister has been doing, the government has been doing that. Some of the recommendations they have been implementing. But we want, as a package, the whole thing. If that is done, this is going to complement. These regulations are going to complement the work. They are just going to come and reinforce, complement, because that has set the basis. The recommendations in that report have already set the basis, the foundation, for the efforts to curb the spread of and eventually defeat COVID-19 in the Gambia. So we're talking about this interministerial committee. We need it. They will be coming up. The Minister of Finance will be coming up with a response program. That these are the resources we expect from the home generated. These are the ones we are expecting from partners, the IMF, grants or whatever. Even the private actors in the country here, individuals, donations. The Minister of Health would have prepared something like that, a program, a package. We asked the Ministry of Trade, go and engage experts to go and look, as the Honorable Member for Serakunda and Willie were saying, like go to a workshop. We don't have an inventory, but it's high time that we do that. All the garages, the car parks, go and ask them how many are there in number. I'm just giving an example. They said we have 10 drivers are here. One could have asked them, how much do you earn per month? The minimum, basic, and that is something that is sufficient for you to subsist on. They said 3,000, for example, a month. So government wants to come up with 1 month lockdown. So government could have been, we could have got resources, and then, we are not in that state, but these are the type of responses that we are expecting from government. These are the type of relief that we are expecting from government. To come, support them, provide them, you can stay. Because you can ask the person to stay, and then you give the person nothing to subsist on. So this is the challenge that people are facing. And we are telling you, I'm not sure whether the members of the executive are deterred. I know you are not, because I'm sure people are accosting you. But I'm telling you, all of them, each and every one of them, every day they are confronted by people on they are confronted. Don't agree on this 90 days. How are we going to survive? And that's key, survival. So it's important for this interministerial body, for you to, the Honorable Minister of Health told us that it is in place, but we want to see it in high gear. We want to see it in motion. Please come together, review the situation. Tourism, the tourism is everywhere is affected, but all the sectors that are affected, get the ministries to engage the stakeholders, the experts within government and also outside of government, to come and present something that we will have as a country. We give the population a duration. I'm not sure whether it's too late now, but it could have been a 1 week duration, that after this 1 week, we are going to enter into a lockdown. But everybody would have prepared himself. We're talking about taxes. We are the vehicles, fares that now we are reducing. I understand that. The reason why the fares are reduced, the reason is they don't want movement. They want to restrict movement. Banjul to Serakunda is $8. They said $7. They are not even refusing $8 now. $8, they are refusing it. You're asking them. So that means they want them to. But this is not the way to address it. I understand. We understand that the objective is to restrict movement, but it is having rippling effect. No, it's catastrophic. Sorry for, I'm not sure whether time here has, but it's really difficult for the average person. So how do we ensure that we come up with measures? We are all in this together. We know the interest of every person, the executive and the National Assembly and the ordinary Gambian, is to ensure that we defeat COVID-19. We emerge out of it unhurt. That's all that that is our wish. That is all what we want. And I believe that all our efforts should be geared towards that. So how do we come up with measures that are going to help us to ensure that there is no spread, but yet people observe social distancing or physical distancing, hand washing, and then they restrict their movements, and yet there is no suffering. How do you mitigate suffering? So that is key. We don't want to roast the lamb by destroying our hut, the wood that we have, the stick, yes, what we have, the wood, the logs, whatever that we have we take it out to roast because we are hungry. Then at the end of the day, we don't have anywhere we don't have shelter, anything to cover us from the sun or from the rain or whatever, or from the wind, from the elements. So there is need for a balancing act. We need to be circumspect as a government, a balancing act. Health is key, but there are economic implications, there are social implications. So how do we juggle? How do we make sure that we give health its due, but also people do not suffer? So I am really advocating for 2 weeks. And then if you look at section 34(5), it states a resolution of the National Assembly passed for the purpose of this section shall remain in force for 90 days or such shorter period as may be specified therein, provided that A, any such resolution may be extended from time to time by a further resolution supported Roman 1 in the case of a forced extension by the vote. So we can do the 2 weeks, start with 2 weeks and see what happens. Ask people to restrict their movements as much as possible, unless it is urgent, extremely urgent, because there are missions that are urgent. In fact, what we are doing, these measures, they are going to affect everybody, particularly business. Because I'm telling you, there are some people who are not paying heed to the advice. But I'm also telling you that there is a large number of people who are paying heed to the advice. A lot of people now are not going out, only when it is necessary. Of course, it could be that the majority are not still, compliant. But I'm telling you that so many people are not going out now. So how do we continue sensitizing them that it is in your best interest, it is in the best interest of your family, best interest of the country for us to observe this. But we have to give them something in return. We cannot ask them to sit down at home and then nothing for them to live on. Of course, we've seen that I have neighbors who are operating a garage. There was a day they came, I think day before yesterday, that they were asked to close. But yesterday they told me that they were told to go back. So it appears that there's easing of the restrictions. That's the situation as far as that's concerned. So I want to also come to the regulations. If you look at the regulation on Honorable Minister Attorney General on transportation, restriction on transportation.
Honorable Banjul North.
Yeah.
Oh, you're done.